Hello, great people of YouTube, and I think the time has come for us finally to discuss a book that I've been wanting to discuss for a long time, and I've been fascinated by almost all of my aware years of life. A book originally published in 1949, and that is George Orwell's 1984. When I first read 1984 by George Orwell, I immediately declared it as the greatest thing that I'd ever read. I was very young, but I would still, to this day, rate it up there as one of the greatest and one of my favourite books. But when I did first read it, back in the day when I was young, I thought it was a fascinating and entertaining piece of fiction that I assumed was, and probably was, based on what potentially was happening in World War II and what could have happened had things been different at the end of World War II. And really was a frightening depiction of life that made me, and should hopefully make all readers, feel grateful for the freedom that they have today and for the choices they can make today and the ease with which we can move around today. However, sitting here in 2025, this book is starting to look less and less like fiction and more like real life. And that is the terrifying thing, and I think that is what makes it more relevant today than at any point in history, and why I'm primarily tackling the ideas of how facts and truth can be manipulated to whatever ends. And imagine this was being written in the 40s, published in 1949, prior to the arrival of social media and the internet frenzy that we see today. So today it's exponentially worse, and anything that we see from anything that we follow, that we believe in, we immediately assume that it is fact. And anything that anybody says from something we don't like or don't necessarily follow or believe in is fake, it's lies, it doesn't exist, it's not real. And of course this is happening more and more today, and I'm sure and I hope, for the sake of humanity, that in the end good will prevail. I know there are people out there who truly want good for people. They want society to improve. But there are other people the other way. I mean, just a simple thing like speaking to somebody from the older generation and they say, when I was your age I had to climb a mountain and then ride a goat through snow for 47 miles with no shoes and socks just so I could get to the office and do a hard day of work, and you should stop complaining and do the same, rather than thinking, hang on, it's now 60 years, 50, 60 years later, let's try to make things better for mankind. And that's really where we should be heading, and hopefully those people will prevail. But the book really is a forewarning. The world is at endless war. The government is a totalitarian government. And even the creation of music, of art, of literature is written in a language called newspeak, which is essentially just machines producing creative arts, reducing language so that it reduces the ability to think freely and have an education and an opinion and be free. And I know many of you are probably saying, that sounds just like what's happening today with artificial intelligence. And for me, that's something of a conflict, because I do love technology and I do think that artificial intelligence can be used for our benefit. And I think that we can remove a lot of the drudgery of everyday life and let artificial intelligence take care of that, and we can focus on more creative, productive endeavors. However, if you're going to be dishonest and try to use artificial intelligence to write a novel and submit that as work, you're defeating the whole purpose. Essentially, what are we going to have? We're going to have cliched, repetitive, mindless drivel out there. Same thing with music. I'm Generation X, and for me, I love rock music. I love guitar, bass, drums, vocals. I don't like electronic dance music. But I certainly don't want electronic dance music that is just created by machines without any input from human beings. And thus, without further ado, get out there, get yourself a copy of 1984 by George Orwell. Read it and try to remain hopeful, try to remain positive. We can work together to make the world a better place. Don't lose hope. Continue reading, continue educating yourself, and build your ability for critical thinking. Have a great weekend.